If you love gaming, juggling a husband, a wife, job, friends, babies is really no easy task, but an emulation device such as this one really makes multitasking a whole lot easier. I've been using mine for over a year based on recommendations primarily from Wolf Den, Retro Game Core, and Baldly Rudy, and I want to tell you why I think every dad or mom should own one of these things. I think it makes your gaming life easier in 3 ways. When your baby or your kids go down for a nap, what do we habitually do? We grab our phones and we start doom scrolling. We open up the reels our friends sent. We scroll your own shorts while a show is going on in the background. Personally, I've gotten bored of a lot of shorts, so I definitely watch, but I don't watch anywhere near as often. Switching from reels to feels with our games, I think is a better use of our 5-minute pocket of time, or however long you have when you're in your downtime. Personally, I'd rather battle Pokemon, stomp on Goombas, or make a strategic move in Fire Emblem, rather than scroll mindlessly most of the time. The size of the devices these days kind of redefines at least modern gaming. I mean, the Game Boy aside, that's always been there. There's stuff like the Switch, the Steam Deck, and the PS Portal, which are portable gaming, but then there are devices like these which really fit into our pockets extremely well. Granted, you can just take the Joy-Cons off of a Switch and put them in both pockets, but I mean, these fit into our pockets pretty nicely, and you can whip them out for really quick play sessions. Devices such as these can allow for quick pockets of time. Instead of wasting your time doom scrolling, you can switch to a more productive downtime by either doing a level or doing some kind of boss segment or doing some kind of smaller segment.
But you have to choose. And you have to choose now.
If you have a newborn like I do, then your little buddy or your princess kind of needs a lot of attention. And when your baby is sleeping, you can tend to multitask a little easier. Often what I do is hold my baby with one hand and battle Pokemon with the other, and it's a lot easier said and done with devices like the Miu Mini Plus or the RG35XX, or really devices that have a vertical form factor such as this one. Plus, you're also limited to the type of game you could do this with. For RPGs like Pokemon, Chrono Trigger, stuff like that, they're perfect to do that with, but Metroid Zero Mission, not so much. Then you got the situation where you have your baby and your boppy, in which case you can kind of just put them around and really two-hand your device. You can always put your baby in a rocker while he sleeps or she sleeps there while you play your home console game, and which case, you know. But I'm talking the devices are great for really one-handing them and multitasking like that.
Previously on Lost.
If you have kids like mine also, I mean, they love to take what's not theirs. At one point, I had a copy of GTA Chinatown Wars. Where is it now? Well, not in the case, that's for sure. The nice thing about emulation devices is that you have at least a backup copy for your already purchased physical games. And if that describes you, I would love for you to share your story in the comments. Another problem is that you have lost your original hardware, or your hardware just doesn't translate well decades later. You could replace your original hardware, but even if you did, what was revolutionary back in 2004 isn't necessarily revolutionary in 2024. Modern devices are definitely brighter, but they run about the same, if not better. The emulation devices are definitely cheaper than replacing your old hardware. If you look at eBay or DK Oldies, you run the risk of it not working right. There's a lot of videos on DK Oldies saying that the DK Oldies is saying that the consoles are refurbished, but then when you break them down, a lot of the YouTube creators actually reveal that they're not actually refurbed. So buy at your own risk. But another thing is, I mean, the devices that we have nowadays really have great screens compared to what we had on, say, like the original DS. So whether it's lost or outdated, emulation devices provide modern conveniences of playing your older games. As a bonus, save states are a really big time saver. There's no needing to wait all that time for your game to load back up. Really, you just turn your system on and you load the last save state you were in. When I play Fire Emblem, I really like the concept of permadeath in theory, but not necessarily in practice. What I Often what I do is I save my state before I make my next strategic move, because if I lose one of my characters, I don't feel like playing a whole half hour to get back to the point where I was just at, or maybe not a half hour, but just some time in general of getting back to where I was just at. I'd rather just be able to, if I make a mistake, just load my previous save back up and then start again from there. That'll make the game easier, yes, but as a parent with limited time to game, I'd rather progress through the game. I mean, there's some games I've already played through and I'm replaying now for nostalgia reasons, or there's some games where I'm playing for the first time, and again, time is like the biggest factor when you're a parent. You're not really losing too much on the game, to be honest, at least in my opinion. There are a lot of devices out there, but a lot of them are extremely similar. There was a recent video from Retro Dodo in which they announced that they're really not doing any new reviews on devices until something truly different is done about them, because there are so many similar devices out there at such similar price points that what's the point? I have a Miu Mini Plus, and I like it because it has a great D-pad. The triggers are really nice. They're nice and clicky, and if you look at any kind of video on the RG35XX, they're a little flimsy. I recommend Baldly Rudy's review on it. I also like the Miu Mini Plus because it has optional Wi-Fi, and it's $85 on Amazon. You can get it for cheaper on AliExpress, but you're also going to wait a lot longer. I personally think Amazon is a fine way to go. There's also not that much difference between this and an RG35XX. There's an RG35XX Plus that fixes the D-pad of the original one, but if you ask me, I mean, you really only need either one or the other. What it comes down to mostly is you're either getting the option of Wi-Fi with the Miu Mini Plus or the TV connectivity with the RG35XX. There's also an SP model which mimics the Game Boy Advance SP. I'm gonna say, as a parent, I mean, you probably can one-hand that. I think this is a little easier to one-hand because you're not working with a clamshell design exactly, so I personally think this is either this or the RG35XX is a clear winner for those scenarios. There's also the Delta app, which just recently released on iPhone and iPad. If you're a family, more than likely you have an iPad, and the Delta app will work just fine on that as well. I personally use the DualShock 4 to Bluetooth connect to my phone to play Smash and Mario Kart. And then there's Nintendo Switch Online. I have a super love-hate relationship with Nintendo Switch Online. There's, over the years, it's built up its library, but you also have to wait on Nintendo for whenever they feel like dropping in new games. And they used to do it every month, but then they kind of just drop in and kind of whenever they feel like it. And I absolutely hate their N64 stuff because they kind of force you to get their wireless N64 controller instead of being able to button map the Pro controller. I mean, we already have a lot of controllers around anyway, so it's just kind of a nuisance to get more, and I'd personally rather be able to button map. Therefore, I don't use their N64 service. I'd rather just emulate my N64 games on the Delta app. Sorry, Nintendo, don't sue me. There's also devices that I have not touched at all. There's the Ein Odin 2 coming in around $300. There's the Steam Deck coming in around $500. There's the ROG Ally coming in at $700 to $800. I don't use any of these devices. I plan to actually get a Steam Deck, but right now my backlog is way too big to justify that purchase. I recommend Wolfden and Retro Game Core's videos on these. They make super in-depth reviews on them, and as well as, and I hope I don't butcher your name, buddy, Binhead. He has a really cool video on why he sold his PC for a Steam Deck that is actually really interesting, and it's the inspiration for this video that you're watching. So if you're a parent, do you own a emulation device? Let me know which one you have in the comment section below. I'm kind of guessing it's either going to be the Miu Mini, the Miu Mini Plus, or the RG3 5XX, like the SP model probably. Those seem to be pretty popular these days, and they definitely offer the best bang for your buck. But let me know in the comments below. I did a video previous on the Miu Mini Plus specifically over here. And if you have babies, I imagine you are in your late 20s or early 30s. And I want to also show you how I enjoy gaming in my 30s and how you can too. I'll see you on the next one.